أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم. إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم. تنزيل العزيز الرحيم. لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون. لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون. إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون. وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون. وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون. قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين. قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم. قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون. وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون. أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون. إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين. إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون. قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون. يا حسرة على العباد ما يؤتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون. ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون. وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالأرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحت كل اسم اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقم اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبت وكل خطيئة أخطأتها اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك واستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلحمني ذكرك اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وأظم فيما عندك رغبته اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لغبائه ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترت وكم من فادح من البلاء عقلت وكم من عثار وقيت وكم من مكروح دفعت وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرت. اللهم عظم بلائي وأفرت بي سوء حالي وقصرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد أملي وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومثالي. يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك ألا يعجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنذر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أحترس فيه من تبين عدوي فقرني بما هوى وأسأده على ذلك القضاء. فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودك وخالفت بعض أوامرك. فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاء. وألزمني حكمك وبلاغك وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة رحمتك اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ذري وفكني من شد وثاقي يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة أذني يا من بدا خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي هبني لابتداء كرمك وصالف برك بي يا إلهي وسيدي وربي أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك وبعد من اتوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك ولهج به لساني من ذكرك وأعتقده ضميري من حبك وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيت أو تبعد من أدنيت أو تشرد من آويت أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيت ورحمت وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النار علي وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا وعلى السنن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقا وبشكرك مادحا وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققا وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طاعة وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنا ما هكذا الظن بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك أنك يا كريم يا رب وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها ألا أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكفو يسير بقى قصير مدة، فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك. وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض يا سيدي، فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، ولما منها أزج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته؟ فلئن صيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك، فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني صبرت على حر نارك، فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك؟ فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا، لئن تركتني ناطقا لأذجن إليك بين أهلها زجيج العاملين، ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولأنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين؟ يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته، وذاقت عمى عذابها بمعصيته، وحبس بين أتباعها بجرمه وجريرته. وهو يزج إليك زجيج معمل لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي فكيف يبغي في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك أم كيف يهرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه أم كيف يتغلغل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب أم كيف يرجو فضلك في إتقه منها فتتركه فيها هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك فباليقين اقتوا لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما لكنك تقدست أسماك أقسمت أن تملاها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدعا وتتولت بالإنعام متكرما أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي هتمتها وحكمتها وقلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة في هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبت وكل قبيح أسررت وكل جهل أملت كتمته أو أعلنت أخفيته أو أظهرت وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم وبرحمتك أخفيته وبفضلك سترته وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسطت أو ذنب تغفر أو خطأ تستر. Everyone. يا رب يا رب يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي يا من بيده ناصيتي يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي يا رب يا رب يا رب أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك مأمورا وبخدمتك موصولا وأعمالي عندك مقبولا حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه مؤولي يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي يا رب يا رب يا رب قو على خدمتك جوارحي واشتد على العظيمة جوانحي وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في البارزين واشتاق إلى الغربك في المشتاقين ودنو منك دنو المخلصين وأخافك مخافة المغنين واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فارد ومن كادني فكد واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نسيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك وأخسهم ظلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك وجد لي بجودك واعتف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وأغلني عثرتي واغفر ذلتي فإنك غذيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة فإليك يا رب نسبت وجهي وإليك يا رب مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني مناي ولا تغت من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي. Everyone. يا سريع الرضا يا سريع اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاحه البكاء يا سابق النعم يا دافع النقم يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بي ما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Sayyid Hasan Rizvi, respected elders, brothers, sisters in Iman, Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Surah Fatih is requested for all the names listed on the screen and Kul Arwahil Mu'mineen wal Mu'minat, Sawab al-Fatiha. Ayat Yajibun is requested for all the names listed on the screen and whoever is in need of it here and elsewhere. Let us all recite it together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amma yujibul mustarra idha da'ah wa yakshifu su. Amma yujibul mustarra idha da'ah wa yakshifu su. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. Now we'll have a short presentation by Brother Wahid Uaid of Al Ain, Canada. Please invite him with a salawat.
Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Vahid Farashahi. I'm actually located in Toronto, and I'm a servant of the orphans. That's my job title. And I just wanted to present to you guys. I was in Florida, so I said, what better way to connect with you guys? The most vulnerable people in the society today are the orphans, and we have so many riwayat about orphans and how Amir al-Mu'mineen put in his will to Hasan and Hussein to take care of the orphans. And in the Quran, there are many verses that talk about helping the orphans and taking care of the orphans. The organization Al-Ain, I'm sure maybe many of you have heard of them. It's an organization under Sayyid Sistani, directly under him. So Sayyid Sistani owns this organization, and he manages it, and he audits the organization. And we're located in 38 different countries, including the U.S., 3 offices, and also in Canada. So I'll just show you Canada and the U.S. We're both one team. I'm just presenting because the presence is there. Our vision is to basically take care of the orphans in Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, and Africa. So alhamdulillah, we have the tawfiq. We perfected the formula or orphan care with Sayyid Sistani as supervision over us, and we've now moved to Africa, Afghanistan, and Yemen. Our vision is to empower them. We are not just giving them the fund, but we're also providing housing, healthcare, educational support, psychological rehabilitation, vocational training, hand-on skill training, and job placements and financial training. All those things are done. If you ever get a chance to go to Iraq, if you connect with us, we'll take you to our offices, and you can even visit the orphans that you sponsor as well. We have full religious authority from Sayyid Sistani himself for Khums, 100%. This is the only organization under him that's allowed to take 100% Sahm Sadat and Sahm Imam. All the sadaqah, we have a blue sadaqah box if you're not aware of. If you can order it online, it's a free sadaqah box that's considered sadaqah maqboodha, which means the moment Sayyid Sistani has said that the moment you put money into it, it's accepted by the orphan. So you reap the benefits immediately. And you could put zakat al-fitra, you could put sadaqah and many other religious dues into it. I'm just showing the Canada here, but we are all around the world as well. We have offices, and this is, I told you about the received sadaqah. I'm going to go through this fast because, and in 2021, alhamdulillah, we're now sponsoring over 72,500 orphans, and 132 went through the program and qualified and no longer are in the program as well. With orphans with special need, we're taking care of 52,000, over 52,000. Children awaiting sponsorships are around 21,000 orphans. Many in Yemen and Afghanistan as well. Afghanistan is desperate to need, as you guys are well aware. Healthcare, we provided about 21,000 health condition treated, 1,700 surgeries performed, 286 surgeries in 2021. Rehabilitation as well, we've registered about 1,500 cases with follow-up sessions, and also cases treated. I'm just giving you overall statistics, but if you need details, you can definitely contact me. Vocational training, we teach them. Sayyid Sistani basically says if they study well, we give them more income. Instead of $100 a month, we give them $140. If they want to work, we teach them how to work. We give them the money to start their own store, and then they give that money back to the organization, and they continue being successful. So we have those working sessions as well. And we distribute food throughout the year and clothing as well. So we had the Ramadan food basket rebuilding home is happening right now for the winter, and Eid clothing as well. We're in Africa, Yemen, and Afghanistan today. And we have our gala in Toronto that's happening with Maulana Sayyid Rizvi. He's the guy, he's the Sheikhuna who's actually started the organization with the permission of Sayyid Sistani in Canada. And we're also in the U.S. Inshallah, we'll have galas here as well. as we grow in the Florida as well. You can contact us in the order Sadaqah box. We can work together and basically you can help Al-Ain, and without your support, we wouldn't be where we are today, being able to help many of the orphans. I'll finish with this. One of our biggest donors went to Sayyid Sistani, and we kind of accommodated to him to go to Sayyid. And he asked Sayyid Sistani, he said, if you had $1, Sayyid, where would you spend it? Because there's many charitable organizations, there's where everyone needs support. Sayyid said, I would spend that $1 at Al-Ain. He said, what if you had $100 or $1,000? Where would you spend that? Would you divide that? He said, I would help Al-Ain. He said, what if you had $1 million? Sayyid Sistani said, I would still spend it at Al-Ain. It was very touching, and that brother after that said, just, you have my full support, anything you need, let me know. I wanted to share that with you guys, that, it's the desperate need. It's the most, they're the most vulnerable in the community. Orphans are in need. 100% of our donation goes to the orphans. Sayyid Sistani pays for the expenses of our offices, so none of the donations that we collect stays in the office, they all go to the orphans. I just wanted to let you guys know this organization exists. If you need my contact information, I'll leave it here. If any support, any help for the orphans you need, and they, with their little hands, they open a lot of issues and problems you have in your life. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Now let us invite Sayyid Hasan to come forward to recite tonight's majlis by Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة بعد الصلوات. اللهم صل على محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وبه نستعين. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، خاتم النبيين، شفيع المذنبين، رحمة للعالمين، سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا والشفيع نفوسنا والطبيب ذنوبنا، أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We'll start with some of the questions that are on Slido. We'll move to our main topic, and with a gham, and then a quiz on Slido. So our last session, we had this clearing the air session, right? An interactive session where we were going through some of these, contemporary topics. And alhamdulillah, based on the feedback that we've received from, most Jamaat members, it seemed like a successful event, and people do want to see more of it. So inshallah, we'll try our best to set it up as a monthly event. There were a lot of questions that remained unanswered, and we only had about a 45-minute window. So I think what we're going to do for next time is try to maybe pick 1 or 2 questions max and try to open those up more. Because one of the pieces of feedback that was received was that, some of the questions, although answered, there was more depth there, right? We could have gone more in depth for some of those things, and that's true. But in the interest of time and just kind of to test things out, we didn't give full answers. So some of the questions that are on Slido, we're going to reserve those and save those until our next special Clearing the Air interactive session. But there were a few that I think we can answer quickly, if you can display those. Ahsant, okay. Now these didn't have to do with the session last week, some of them, but some of them did. Okay, so one, which was left over from even before that, well, somebody asked, is it haram to eat pork in Minecraft? Genuine question, was told it's haram. No, it's not haram. Anything that's done, let's call it virtually, right, as we're, I guess, unfortunately moving more and more into the virtual world, a quote-unquote haram action in the dunya is not haram in, let's say, other worlds or realms, like the virtual realm, right? So eating virtual pork, because you're not eating, it's virtually eating virtual pork, is not haram. The criteria that ulama give is that if you're going to do something that's not obviously haram, right? Let's say, again, like eating pork. The only criteria you have to keep in mind is, are you encouraging haram behavior or not? Is it inciting you or somebody else towards haram behavior? If it is inciting or encouraging, then you can't do it. But if it's not, then it's okay. So, for example, eating haram pork, or eating pork or any haram thing, quote unquote, in Minecraft or any video game, technically would be fine, right? But if it's somehow affecting your soul and it's encouraging you to go out and eat pork, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it. Okay. Next is, are you allowed to have chewing gum or any other chewable item in your mouth while praying? So, there's different mubtilat, things which make your salah batil. And one of them is eating and drinking in salah, right? And for Ayatul Sistani, basically I'm not going to go into the details because I think that'll take a little bit too long. For chewing gum or keeping something in your mouth, technically speaking, you can have something in your mouth, and as long as you're not chewing or let's say sucking on it and swallowing like a mint or whatever, then technically it would be fine. He said, look, the issue would be is if, let's say, there is something in your mouth like a mint or gum, and you're chewing on it or doing something that makes it seem like you're not praying, right? They say that the hal or the sur, the physical picture of the namaz and the salah makes it look like you're not praying. Then in that case, you've broken the picture and the surah of namaz, you're not allowed to do that. So if you're doing something, anything, whether it's chewing or moving around, whatever, doing something which a little bit is not a problem, but you're doing it so much, somebody's like, is this person praying or not? If you break that picture and that surah of prayer, then your salah becomes batil, right? Actually having the gum or the mint or whatever is not an issue. Now what could be an issue is, again, if you eat or chew or do something which somebody would actually say, yes, you're eating something. That would also qualify it to make your salah batil. There is one sort of, not exception, but a condition that's mentioned as well, where if you have something in your mouth, and let's say, again, it has some sugary content in it, like most gum or mint would have, right? Some sweetener. And you're constantly sucking on it, right? And from that now, things are constantly, you're swallowing flavor basically, right? Or these chemicals. They don't say it's haram. They don't say it's going to make your salah batil, but ulama like Sayyid Sistani, hafidhahullah, say there is ishkal and a problem in your salah, which basically means that we're not sure if your salah will be accepted or not. So there's no direct fatwa for it, but then they're saying, look, we can't tell you, like don't rely on us to say whether your salah is accepted or not. In that case, practically speaking, you shouldn't keep something in your mouth, or if you are, don't suck on it or chew on it, basically, right? So if you have bad breath, take care of it before salah, basically, right? Okay. Next one, does believing in wilaya takwiniya or takwini equal shirk? Now this is technically related to our Clearing the Air session last week, so I'm not going to go into a long discussion about what is wilaya takwiniya versus wilaya tashri'iyya, but basically no, wilaya takwini, as those Shia ulama who believe in it, what they believe in is not shirk. Shirk is when you believe that there are partners to Allah, na'udhu billah. Wilaya takwini, meaning that the Ahlul Bayt, the Ma'asumeen, Anbiya, that they have powers given to them by Allah. How is that shirk? How is it that when Allah gives somebody a power to perform shafa'ah or tawassul, or to, let's say, give life to the dead or to heal the sick, how is that becoming shirk? How to believe in that shirk? It doesn't make any sense, right? So I know why the individual is asking it, but as far as any of the opinions that are concerned regarding the Shia ulama and wilaya takwini, not everybody believes in it, but amongst those who believe in it, then there's no way you can define that as shirk. Now, what is wilaya takwini in the eyes of the ulama? Again, that's a longer discussion. If that person's interested, we can talk about that in the next Clearing the Air session. The last one was, I guess, a response to one of the issues we brought last week. Unlike the Quran, which is a single source without, I don't know what they meant to say here, but we have numerous hadith that are in contradiction of each other. Hence, the lack of faith or trust on the hadith as opposed to the Quran. Both pass down through authority, but one has clear flaws. So I think the reason this person is bringing this is because last week, we were objecting to these people who say, Quran only, we don't trust the hadith because there's all these middle people. Right? Because things can get lost in translation, they're not reliable, we toss out hadith and we go back to the Quran. Right? That was their argument. We responded and said, the way that you and I have the Quran in our hand right now is because people have passed it down. So if you don't like hadith, then you shouldn't like the Quran either. If you're going to trust the Quran, you should also trust the hadith then. So this person is responding to that and saying, well, the Quran, I guess they're trying to say, there's a single source and there's no contradiction, and the hadith, there are numerous sources and numerous contradictions. So even there, I think that this person has not understood the Quran then. With the Quran, we have numerous sources where it's come from as well. Again, I'm not going to bring in the discussion how the Quran has been transmitted. For this person who's brought it up, that's for you to go and research. The Quran is not coming down from a single source. That's not correct. In addition, this idea of the hadith having contradictions and the Quran not, go just Google contradictions Quran and see how many websites you get pulled up. One of the major discussions amongst Christians and Jews or Islamophobes is saying, look at all the contradictions you have in your book. Now, of course, we have responses, don't we? We say, look, that's not a contradiction. So one of the famous ones is, they say, hey, in one part of the Quran, it says, you can't drink, no alcohol. And another part it says, well, don't have alcohol, don't be drunk while you read your salah, right? So they said there's contradictions here. He said, look, you have to understand how they were revealed, why they were revealed, and the sort of context that they were revealed in, and that was gradual, right? The prohibition of alcohol. Now, how would anybody understand that? Through hadith, right? The only way they would know that is through hadith. The Quran itself is not saying that we've done this gradually. It doesn't mention anything like that. So in the same way that a defender of the Quran knows that there's contradictions, but we can respond to it, well, guess what? The ahadith, which seemingly have contradictions, also have ways we respond to them as well. Because there's a lot there, just like in the Quran, but there's a system that the ulama have shown us, this is how we reconcile these. So this objection the person is bringing does not really hold any weight. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So some of the other objections and questions we'll bring next week, inshallah. Let's go to our main topic tonight. If you can recite one more salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So, obviously in 2 days, it's going to be Christmas, right? Tomorrow night is Shabbat Christmas. So I figured we might as well address Christmas, right? Now, normally when the topic of Christmas is addressed, for a Muslim, the most appropriate thing to do is to talk about two personalities. One of them at least being Nabi Isa alayhi salam, or if we're going to do two, then we talk about Lady Bibi Maryam alayhi salam. And sometimes people, if they have the time, they talk about both of these personalities. And the reason we do that, we say, look, we don't talk about them throughout the year. Christmas is pretty much the only time where, since everybody else is talking about these two, we might as well talk about their role and their maqam and daraja in Islam, right? So normally the sort of same basic, I'll call them cliched points get discussed, right? When we talk about Bibi Maryam alayhi salam, we talk about this famous hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, where he mentions that there are 4 specific women who are the ladies of Jannah, right? So we have, of course, Bibi Maryam, Bibi Asiya, Bibi Khadija, and Bibi Fatima Zahra alayha salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So we mentioned, look, we honor Bibi Maryam in a way that no one else does. And this specific way, even other religions like Christians don't mention Bibi Maryam in this light. We say, look, even in our book, we mention and talk about her more than you do. Again, sometimes people are very polemical, right? It's almost like they want to fight with Christians about this. Like, look, there's no reason to fight. We can talk about the status of them without getting into an argument all the time, right? Yeah, but it is worthwhile mentioning that she has a special status, that in all of the Quran, anytime a female is mentioned, they're always mentioned indirectly. They're never mentioned by name. The one exception is Bibi Maryam. She is the only female that is mentioned by name specifically directly in the Quran. And in fact, of course, we go farther and say, look, she's the only one who has a surah named after her, right? She has a surah directly, named after her. It's not Surah Isa, it's Surah Maryam, which is very interesting, right? So she gets her own chapter, plus her name is the only female name directly mentioned. And more so, her name is mentioned more than Rasulullah's name. The word Muhammad is only mentioned 4 times in the Quran. Her name is there, I think, about 30, 35 times, right? We talk about equality of gender. She's there more than Rasulullah is, right? He's our final prophet, but she's getting more mention. And we also talk about the fact that she had this great deal of ibadah and worship, which gave her this high status. So one famous hadith which comes from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He's reported to have said that once after Nabi Isa's mother, Bibi Maryam, had passed, he wanted to speak with her. And they say he had this ability, right, that he could resurrect people from the dead. So he gave life temporarily to his mother, Bibi Maryam. And he wanted to talk to her about her ibadah. So he asked his mother, he said, would you like to live in this dunya again? Would you like to live on earth again? And Bibi Maryam replies that, yes, I would like to, but with conditions. The only way that I'd want to live in this dunya again is if I could offer my salah, my prayers, in the coldest nights of winter, and I'd be able to fast in the hottest nights of the summer. Right? Meaning that she would want to take on the toughest types of ibadat that exist. That would be her only conditions for wanting to come back towards the dunya. Now compare it to you and I. Right now is the time that most of us, if we have fasts that we have to make up, now's the time we do it, right? Because we say, look, it's the shortest fast you can do, we might as well do it right now. And we always pray for that. We're like, Allah, please, I can't wait till Ramadan falls in winter because it'll be, short, which is okay. We know that the highest status is somebody who wants the most difficult ibadah. And for us who are trying to work on it, Allah says, look, no problem. Take the easy way out, it's okay. One day, inshallah, maybe you'll reach a station like she may have reached. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So these are some of the points normally we discuss with Bibi Maryam, alayhi salam. And then, of course, when we talk about Nabi Isa, alayhi salam, we say, yes, we have a lot in common with, our Christian brothers and sisters in terms of the miraculous birth, in terms of some of the miracles, like healing the blind and the lepers and raising the dead, of course, by the permission of Allah, not on his own. Some of the other miracles, like turning water into wine, obviously, we don't believe in things like that. Maybe if they had said he turned water into chai, we might have believed in something like that, but we have no narrations about anything like that. But, these are normally the points that we talk about. And in all those discussions, there are deeper, unresolved points about both of these personalities that you and I probably still have in our minds. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, I don't know. If you do, then we're going to go through them tonight. And if you don't, well, now I'm going to mess you up by putting these questions out for you. People say, look, we know that Nabi Isa is the only one who has, and is a result of this virgin, mother-only birth. No other prophet is like that. Now, of course, we know that the example of Isa is like the example of Nabi Adam alayhi salam. Of course, we know that. But even his example and Bibi Hawa's example are different because they don't have any parents at all. Right? They have no parents. They are the first creations, first humans in that sense. But Bibi Maryam and Nabi Isa, they are one of a kind in that sense. There is no other virgin birth in that sense. Nobody else does that. What makes Nabi Isa and Bibi Maryam so, particular and specific? What makes them so special that this virgin birth only happens between, between these two individuals? And another thing is, okay, we have all these different prophets who are given the title of Nabi or Khalil or Rasul, various titles. But Nabi Isa gets this special title of Ruhullah, the Spirit of Allah. Where is that coming from? Why does he get this special title? And there's a lot of other questions too. We won't be able to understand any of these. Or we could through superficial answers, but in order to get a deeper understanding, the only way we can do it is if not trying to look at Nabi Isa separately and Bibi Maryam separately, but we actually have to look at both of these individuals in terms of their connective relationship. And we have to be able to look at their relationship in the eyes of, let's say, the Urafa, in a more metaphysical lens. Without certain irfani principles, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to understand this idea of virgin birth, of Nabi Isa being Ruhullah. it'll be very, very difficult for us to understand that. And I know normally, I've said Thursday nights, we're not going to do the metaphysics, we're not going to do irfan or mysticism or anything like that. But you know what? It's Christmas. This is going to be my Christmas gift to you. Inshallah, you'll accept it. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The basic principle that we need to understand in order to understand and answer these questions about this special virgin birth, about this idea of being Ruhullah, is first and foremost this. We need to have a clear grasp of the relationship between dunya and akhirah, between the physical world and then the immaterial metaphysical realms. Dunya, we know, is adna. It's the lowest thing possible. This realm, this dimension is the lowest of the low. You can't get lower than this. And when we say lower, we also mean weaker. It's the thing, it's the dimension, the realm which is the farthest away from Allah's manifestation, His tajalli. The place where you see the least reflection of Allah's names is in the dunya. Right? Things are the weakest over here. When things are weakest, they have more dependence amongst each other. When things are weaker, you see more dependence, especially interdependence. And you see over here, what that means is being drowned and relying on the physical cause and effect that exists within this realm. So you see people who are drowned in that, they're drowned in the five senses. They are obsessed with things like science and empiricism. That's the only things that matter to them. And the extreme sense, you see people who are empiricists, or they believe in this idea called scientism, or physicalism, or naturalism. The only thing they believe in is what you can see, right? Taste, hear, touch, smell. Only things that are empirically provable, right? If I can't see it, I'm not going to believe it. I have to see it to believe it, right? That same idea. So they're not going to believe in God or angels or any metaphysical stuff because they can't prove it in a lab, right? They're pure physicalists in that sense. And even sometimes those who believe in Islam or Abrahamic faiths or any religion, sometimes they suffer from this defect as well, right? Hubb dunya, that they are drowning in the dunya, they're drowning in the physical world, so they are stuck with physical cause and effect as well, right? So in that sense, they become very, very weak and attached to the dunya, right? Hopefully you're with me so far. So if that's the case, if the lower you are, the lower your iman is, then that means the more you're connected to the physical realm, the more dependent you are on physical cause and effect. Then the opposite is also true as well. The more connected you are to the higher realms, whether it's barzakh or the higher levels, the more connected you are to Allah, the more iman you have, the more established you are over there, that means the more disconnected you are with this realm. The more dependence you have over there and independence you have in this realm. Physical cause and effect will matter much less and less in this realm for you if you have that higher level of iman. Let me give some examples if you can recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. A few easy ones, I think. Pain. The sensation of pain. Most of us would consider it a physical sensation, right? It's pain, right? It's nerves and all that stuff, right? Impulses. It's electrical impulses, that's it. So look, when you get a headache, when you get hunger, feel hunger, you get tired, these are all physical things. So because I see them as physical problems, most of us, we're going to solve it through physical means too, right? So if I have a headache, then I'm going to go grab a Tylenol or an Advil or something like that, right? Or I want a physical massage. I want a physical response to this physical idea, this physical problem. If you're hungry, well, it's a physical thing. My body needs nutrition, it needs nutrients, it needs energy. So I need food and drink. That's how I'll take care of it. Physical problem, physical solutions. If I'm tired, right, if I don't have energy, then I need some sort of physical response to that, whether it's caffeine through chai or coffee or whatever it is. If we see it as physical, then we respond to it as physical. But now we can say that somebody who is understanding these ideas or these problems as metaphysical issues, then their solutions will also be metaphysical. When they see these issues, even pain, as something immaterial, then the solutions will also be immaterial. When they are not in a state of dunyawi, being ahlul dunya, when they are ahlul akhirah, when they're in, somebody who's ahlul akhirah, they're in a state of ishq constantly, in a state of muhabba, of love, of constant connection to their Rabb, to the awliya Allah. So when that's the case, they're disconnected more from the physical causes and effects. So you see somebody in this same situation, that same sort of pain they'd be going through, it's almost like they don't even feel it at all. Their iman, in a sense, helps them out of that. You see, sometimes, right, people who are more into, let's say, natural or more holistic medicine, they don't jump right away to physical cause and effect. If you have a headache, or if you are hungry, or if you are tired. They say, look, there are du'as that can be recited, or I'll recite Quran, right? They rely more on metaphysical cause and effect. And now most of you say, look, we're not at that level. Look, I'll give you clear examples. Month of Ramadan. Normally, most of us, when we're feeling the effects of the dunya, right now, if we're hungry or we're tired, we go to physical cause and effect. But what is one of the main goals, if we're being reflective of Ramadan? To pull us away from the dunya. And that's why most people, when we would go crazy because we don't have, a few extra calories between, Fajr and, Maghrib, in the month of Ramadan, because we are more connected to the higher realms, it's not a big deal. We don't have to have chai or coffee in the afternoon. We don't have to have food. Right? We don't have to go and have all this food. Although sometimes people mess it up by eating so much and having so much in iftar, but during the day, you don't have to do that. Why? Because your connection is more with the metaphysical. So Allah's giving you an example. You can pull yourself away from the dunya very easily, but there's certain types of ibadah you have to go through. Or even if we're saying outside of Ramadan, any of you who have been for ziyarah, especially in Arba'een time, know this cause and effect as well. Any of you who have performed the walk, I haven't done that, but we ask Allah for the tawfiq to go for ziyarah, inshallah, for all the ma'asumeen, especially in these times of Ashura, in Rajab, and Sha'ban, and of course in Arba'een, inshallah ta'ala. I haven't done it, but I've spoken with anybody. Those who are elderly, who walk from Najaf to Karbala, when right now, if you ask them to, walk to the parking lot, their knees are going to start hurting, right? As they go from here to their cars. They're like, it's too much walking for me. But when they walk from Najaf to Karbala, you ask them, they say this pain is meaningless to us because our thoughts, our hearts, our whole soul is dedicated to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam. Salawat Allah Muhammad wa Muhammad. And it's funny because when you see somebody who, let's say, doesn't do the walk, or takes a van, or let's say stops for a massage, or takes painkillers, or eats food along the way, whatever it happens to be, not that this is correct thinking, but they're almost like, you're cheating, right? It's like you should be going through the pain. You should go beyond that pain. Work through that pain, and you'll see that it will be non-existent for you. I'm not saying that that's the correct way of thinking about it. We shouldn't judge other people, right? If they have to take the van, if they don't want to walk, fine, that's okay, right? If, in the month of Ramadan, if somebody has to load up on carbs or whatever they're eating, in the beginning and the end, whatever, that's fine. What I'm saying is that even deep down, we see that when a person has to rely on the physical, in these times when we're supposed to be connected to the metaphysical, we see that there's something wrong with that. Why are you so concerned with physical things when you're, near Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and Hadith Abu Fadl al-Abbas? Why are you so concerned with food and drink and your hotel and accommodations? That shouldn't be the case. We all recognize that because we all know better. We all know that the metaphysical matters more. And if we were truly connected to them, then the physical shouldn't matter. So now that we understand this principle, we can see how some of these other riwayat and these other things make sense. Whereas we see, for example, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, when he says, "Ad-dunya sijnun al-mu'min." The dunya is a prison for the mu'min. Why? Because it puts all these limitations on us. We don't want to be limited by the physical cause and effect of this place. Anytime you dream, you have one disconnect from the dunya. We enjoy dreams much more than we enjoy the dunya, obviously, right? Because we are kept away from physical limitations. And of course, we are looking for that same unlimited access to pleasure in Jannah as well. And that's why we say, وَجَنَّةٌ لِلْكَافِرِ, right? This place is a Jannah for kafirin because they only care about physical cause and effect. But for us, for mu'mineen, it's the exact opposite. This place is a prison for us. Jannah is where we are looking for the best. That's where we really want to go, into the akhirah. Now, with those concepts, we can start to understand why, and I'll mention this, and this will be our last point, why Nabi Isa is Ruhullah, and why he needed to have this virgin birth. Okay, this might take a little bit of understanding. Please recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So those points I mentioned, try to keep those in mind. We said that somebody at a high station, the more connected they are, the more connected they are to the higher realms, the more disconnected they are to physical cause and effect, right? And we gave the example of pain. And that's a simple idea for us to understand. I think everybody can understand that. One type of cause and effect that happens to just about every single one of us is in terms of the way that our soul enters into the dunya, which means that we require both a mother and a father in order to enter into the dunya. Because of our limitations, our initial attachment to the dunya, there's a physical cause and effect through a mother and a father that are needed in order for us to be born into this dunya. There are some personalities who have reached such a high station, who are so disconnected from the dunya, that some of the physical causes and effect of the dunya are removed and exempted from them. In the same way, a lover of Abu Abdullah, pain means nothing to them. In the same way, for somebody like Isa, who has such a high station that he is known as Ruhullah, because of that high station, the physical cause that is normally needed of having a father is exempted from him, and he now only needs to come from a mother. This is the Irfani sort of understanding of that. Because of his high station, him being so connected to Allah, being Ruhullah, being so disconnected from the dunya, he is exempted. And it's actually, again, it would be cheating for him to come through both a mother and a father. He only, therefore, comes through a mother. Now, why a mother? Now, here is where, again, it's going to be tough for me to explain. I'm going to mention these points, and you can maybe think about this on your own. We know that there are two different types of names of Allah. Jalali names, the names of majesty, of might, which are normally described as masculine names or fatherly names of Allah. And then we have Jamali names, the names of beauty, the more feminine names, the motherly names of Allah. The motherly names are the ones that you and I, we all love those names, right? Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Ghafur, Al-Ghafar, Al-Latif. That's what we want. You want God, in a sense, being like a mother to us, very forgiving and loving. We don't want the fatherly Allah, quote unquote, with the chappal, putting the adab and calling us into question, being just. We don't want justice, we want mercy and forgiveness, right? So in the eyes of the Urafa, they say that loving, merciful, more motherly, feminine aspect of Allah is what really is the reason for creation. So if there's going to be a choice between mother and father, bringing in a physical cause or an effect to this world, then the higher cause would always be the mother. A mother represents Rububiyyah, that higher level of Allah, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. And Bibi Maryam had achieved such a high station that she was one of these pure manifestations of Allah's Jamali names. And Nabi Isa in turn is also one of these manifestations of these Jamali names as well. And it's because of the actions that she had gone through in her life, the way she was also completely dedicated towards Allah, disconnected from the dunya. She manifests these names of Al-Batin, being somebody who's hidden. Her whole life is dedicated to worshiping in the, at that point was the temple, right? A house of Allah. She doesn't go outside and deal with na-mahram at all. And when finally she is pregnant and with a child, then what is she supposed to do? And any other time, if we were stuck in that situation, you and I would want to explain ourselves, right? If somebody was caught in that situation, we would have to, okay, what's your excuse? Give us your explanation. But in order for Bibi Maryam to hold on to her Jamali qualities, to manifest al-batin, these hidden qualities, in the same way Bibi Fatima did as well, then Allah says, don't even speak a word to anybody else. I'm going to make sure that the male within your line speaks on your behalf. And this is where we see the miracle of Nabi Isa. The first one is defending his own mother. She doesn't speak on her own behalf. This is how she manifests, again, these Jamali qualities. It's Nabi Isa that comes and says, Ana Abdullah. I am an Abd of Allah. So he's both saving and protecting the dignity of his mother, and at the same time, protecting her manifestation of Allah's hidden names. Now again, a lot of this stuff maybe went over your heads, and that's fine, because these sort of discussions are usually only meant for people who can understand these things. I wanted just to mention a few of these so we can understand that the only way we can understand this idea of Ruhullah, of this virgin birth, is only if we understand the high level of both of these personalities. That and only for something, this exceptional phenomenon in history to happen, is to have two exceptional personalities. And this is why this is something that will never ever happen again. When somebody has the station of Ruhullah like this, then they are almost exempted from these physical causes and effect, like coming from a father representative of these Jalali, more masculine names of Allah. But of course, we know that even though this happened, we know that Nabi Isa does represent these Jamali names of Allah as well. Perfection of insan. The most perfect human being is only through Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa. Because people might say, look, if that's so great, then why does Rasulullah not come through a mother? Well, he needs both a mother and father because he's representing both names as well. Nabi Isa is a very specific type of character representing Jamali names, but Rasulullah represents the manifestation of all of the names of Allah, the perfect insan, Insanul Kamil, all of the names. And we have this in one famous narration where he says, Nabi Yahya was a complete manifestation of the Jalali names. Nabi Isa was the complete manifestation of the Jamali names, the beautiful names, but I am Insanul Kamil. I am showing you, all of insan, how you manifest all of the names of Allah perfectly. And we also see this continue down into the household of the Ahlul Bayt as well. And as we remember this most famous relationship between mother and son, between Bibi Maryam and Nabi Isa, we also remember a relationship which was even stronger than that, which was also even more heartbreaking. And of course, this is the relationship between Bibi Fatima al-Zahra and Imam Hussein. Remember when Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Remember, as we in these Ayam Fatimiyya, we think about these tough nights, especially those final few moments that Imam Ali had with Bibi Fatima. As Bibi Fatima is reciting a few words, she's giving her wasiyah and her last will and testament to Imam Ali. And some narrations say that she mentions a few different things to him. That, Ya Abul Hasan, don't bury me in the daytime. Bury me so that people cannot see. Do not bury me openly in a place. And perhaps they, Warafa say, because she wanted to maintain her full hijab, manifesting the name of Al-Batin. No one should know where my grave is, except those who are really mahram to me. So bury me at night. The second thing she says is, Ya Abul Hasan, don't leave me alone as well. Especially in those first few moments, I don't want that loneliness in the grave. Come to my grave, recite Quran for me, recite dua for me. Come, sit down next to my grave and recite, do tilawat of Quran in your beautiful voice for me. And then the third and most heartbreaking wasiyah that she mentions is, Ya Abul Hasan, take care of our children. Take care of all of our children. Take care of Hasan, take care of Zainab and Kulthum. But most of all, make sure you take extra special care of Hussein, because you know Hussein has a very special place in my heart. Hussein has a very special attachment to me that no other child has. So pay extra special care and attention to Hussein. And they say that when Imam Ali was performing the ghusl, according to some historians, when he's performing that final ghusl and he's getting ready to now go bury the body, he tells all of the children, Ya Hasan, Ya Hussein, Ya Zainab, Ya Kulthum, say your final salam, you perform your wida to your mother, Fatima. This will be the last time that you see her body in this dunya. And they say that this is where Imam Hasan places his cheek on his mother's cheek. Zainab and Kulthum also go and they put their bodies and hug their mother Fatima. But according to one narration, they say Imam Hussein stayed back and he was sitting back in the corner crying there, saying, I refuse to go to my mother in this. His heart was too broken. He didn't want to see his mother like this. Imam Ali narrates, he says that, Wallah, my witness is that the hand of Fatima came out from under the kafan and she made her hand an emotion towards Imam Hussein and said, Ilayya, Ilayya, Bunayya, Beta, come to me, Hussein, come say Khudafiz, say salam to me one more time before I leave. And they say Hussein went and he jumped his body on top of Bibi Fatima, and everybody began profusely crying in a way that Hussein has never cried before. And Imam Ali says that angels had come down and said, take the body of Hussein away from Fatima because the angels in heaven cannot see Hussein cry like this. ألا لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد. Let's move on to our quiz, inshallah. If you can recite one more salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Okay, assalamu alaikum to everybody. To subscribe to KSI 313 and follow my Twitch. Only one person, huh? If we only have one person, there's only going to be one winner, right? All right, might as well just, yeah, there's nobody else. Let's just start it. I'm not going to wait for anybody else. People can't log in. Oh, okay. Okay, should we just skip it then and wait it? Yeah? Okay, so there's issues with Slido. We'll skip it. We'll leave it for next week, inshallah. Same questions, inshallah ta'ala. والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا وذليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله، السلام عليك يا وارث نوح نبي الله، السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله، السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله، السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله، السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا وارث علي أمير المؤمنين ولي الله، السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى، السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور، أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين، فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مظلهمات ثيابها، وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين، وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي، وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا، وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبيا بكم موقن، بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع، صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. زيارة حضرت علي أكبر. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. زيارة شهداء كربلاء. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباءه، السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله وأوداءه، السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي الولي الناصح، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله، بأبي أنتم وأمي طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما، فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. زيارة حضرت عباس عليه السلام. السلام عليك السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل العباس ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا ابن أول القوم الإسلام وأقدمهم إيمانا وأقومهم بدين الله وأحوثهم على الإسلام. أشهد لقد نصحت لله ولرسوله ولأخيك فنعم الأخ المواسي. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة استحلت منك المحارم وانتهكت حرمة الإسلام. فنعم الصابر المجاهد المحامي الناصر، والأخ الدافع عن أخيه المجيب إلى طاعة ربه الراغب فيما زهد فيه غيره من الثواب الجزيل والثناء الجميل. والحقك الله بدرجة آبائك في جنات النعيم. اللهم إني تعرضت لزيارة أوليائك رغبة في ثوابك ورجاء لمغفرتك وجزيل إحسانك، فأسألك أن تصلي على محمد وآله الطاهرين، وأن تجعل رزقي بهم دارة، وعيشي بهم قارة، وزيارتي بهم مقبولة، وحياتي بهم طيبة، وادرجني إدراج المكرمين، واجعلني ممن ينقلب من زيارة مشاهد أحبائك مفلحا منجها قد استوجب غفران الذنوب وستر العيوب وكشف الكروب، إنك أحلى التقوى وأحلى المغفرة. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا حجة ابن الحسن يا صاحب الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسحر الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك واجعلني من أنصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.